Pokémon Legends Z-A is the best Pokémon game in years, and here's why. Every new Pokémon game is someone's first Pokémon game. The lifeblood of the series, new young players, are well served by a raft of new monsters, locations and gimmicks. Speak to fans of any age and they'll passionately explain to you why the pair of games that they grew up with are the best. But for those for whom 2026 will also mark 30 years of Pokémon fandom, it's often felt like the series has primarily focused on those younger players for almost all of those 3 decades. And that's why the emergence of the Legends spin-off series has been so welcomed by the hardcore. While there have always been calls for a hardcore Pokémon game from some sections of the audience, this is unlikely to ever happen given the size of the franchise. Instead, the Legends series, which began with 2022's Arceus, exists in a timeline where the franchise has aged alongside the veteran player base. While it's still friendly to younger fans, Legends has now become, in our view, a non-negotiable accompaniment to the central pair of RPGs that we get every few years. A space for Pokemon to try new ideas and explore the monsters and lore that often get completely missed by the mainline entries. Pokemon Legends Z-A, the second game in Legends, is not only an excellent tribute to the classic Pokemon games Pokemon X and Pokemon Y, but it also successfully experiments with new mechanics, adds new characters that will become fan favourites, and even pulls off a 30-hour Pokemon adventure set within one single location. In my opinion, as a Pokemon stalwart, this is the best Pokemon game in many years. Pokemon Legends Z-A takes place entirely within Lumiose City, the Paris stand-in from 3DS's Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. While in those games, typically wild Pokemon could only be found in the roaming hills and fields around the city, thanks to the new wild zones created by Quasartico Inc. In the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 game, people and Pokemon now work together. The player arrives in the not Paris and is quickly thrust into a mystery around Lumiose City, the new locations Z-A Royale Tournament and Mega Evolution. Pleasingly, Pokemon Legends Z-A's story is far more mature by Pokemon standards and doesn't treat the player like they're a beginner. It's also legitimately funny, with plenty of side quest writing evoking genuine laughs. The game has a vast amount of optional content, most of which offers a look into the everyday lives of the Pokemon world. It's here where the most self-referential dialogue can be found. Not only does it reference deep-cut X and Y lore, but also fan memes, conspiracy theories, and long-standing community jokes all get a wink and a nod, or in one specific case an entire side quest. While Arceus made exciting tweaks to the turn-based formula, Pokemon Legends Z-A goes way further and makes the battles totally real-time, a huge change for the series. Both Pokemon trainers and their Pokemon now move around independently, and moves are performed via the Switch's face buttons. This is a massive departure for the series and will likely prove divisive among fans. However, I found its execution rewarding, action-packed, and perfect for Z-A's overall format. This time the moves have different animation lengths and cooldown times, while the weakness and resistance system from the main games still stays true. Physical location is now very important. Some moves will only hit if the Pokemon is close enough. For example, Pikachu's Iron Tail will only hit a Pokemon that's immediately in front of it. The real-time battles are well complemented by the introduction of the game's main story theme, the Z-A Royale. When night descends on Lumiose City, trainers take to the streets to battle. Defeat enough trainers in a single night and you'll earn points towards a promotion match. As the name suggests, the goal here is to increase your rank from Z all the way to A, and as you ascend the ranks, you begin developing a team that can knock out as many Pokemon as possible before the night ends. It's a brilliant twist on the Pokemon battle formula that captures the frantic spontaneity of combat that we've seen in the anime series. Because everything is real time and fast paced, players need to have their wits about them lest they be jumped by a rival trainer. Especially if their Pokemon is of a type that's favourable against yours, you end up knocked out before the game even starts. If the main Pokemon series battle system has always felt to you like a math problem displayed by sprites bashing into each other, Z-A is more like an action game. There's a dynamism to launching your Pokeball towards an opposing trainer and getting right into the battle. The speed of the new real-time system means that battles where both Pokemon are down to their last hit often resolve by who picks the faster move like a quick attack. Pokemon Legends Z-A's real-time combat is at its most complex during Rogue Mega Evolution battles, which happen throughout the game. These battles see the player take on supersized Mega Evolved Pokemon in pseudo-raid format, and they are the game's toughest tests. Here, because the unruly Pokemon will target not only your Pokemon, but the player as well, you need to worry about dodging, healing, and keeping track of environmental hazards. Overall, the dynamism of both Z-A's battles and its world make for a Pokemon adventure that feels significantly more immersive and vibrant than what's come before. Many types of Pokemon freely roam around Lumio City, for example, like Trubbish hanging around the bins, or the long missing action elemental monkeys sitting in the trees. Flocks of Pidgeys will sit on lampposts. Magikarp occupy the ponds and rivers around Lumios. You find Pokemon where you would expect to find Pokemon, which has been the dream of many Pokemon players for a long time. Pokemon Legends Z-A finally captures the feeling of Ash and the gang arriving in a new city and observing the residents and the Pokemon coexisting in harmony. If anything from Legends Z-A becomes standard, this idea of wild Pokemon existing in the towns and being able to catch them in those towns is near the very top of our list. Of course, with every Pokemon that makes big bets on new ideas, there are some stumbles. Most notably here is the performance. Now, while Pokemon Legends Z-A runs at a rock solid 60 on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's very visually bright and well animated, this is a Nintendo Switch game with a Nintendo Switch 2 patch. Overall, Lumio City suffers for some low detail and some flat repeated textures, which leaves players with the feeling that it was scaled back for Nintendo's weaker machine, which is a shame. The game's Pokédex is an excellent mix of Kalos native Pokemon and fan favourites, but it's disappointing that trading is required to complete it, something that Arceus sidestepped with in-game items. Pokemon Legends Z-A thrills in the spaces in which it subverts the traditional Pokemon setup. In many areas, it feels like a massive departure for the series, with its new battle system and Z-A Royale structure in particular paying off, and once again proving that the Legends series is home to the most interesting ideas that Game Freak has. It's an entry that rewards older fans with the series' most mature narrative in a long time. The soundtrack, which is full of X and Y rearrangements and new pieces, is also arguably the best orchestral score the series has had, with rearrangements of classics like the battle theme and the Pokemon Center themes, to new music and those returning favourites from the 3DS games. The Pokemon Legends series feels like it's settling old scores. Pokemon Legends Arceus allowed Game Freak to tell that epic story of Arceus and the Creation Trio, and finally have Arceus catchable in a game that was available worldwide, while also serving as a pseudo-remake tribute to the Generation 4 games for those who didn't love BDSP. Pokemon Legends Z-A is a game that understands its audience and feels like a love letter to both those players who grew up with X and Y and those who have been here the whole time. Lumio City is finally as grand as Game Freak tried to make it with the limited power of the 3DS, and Zygarde not only earns plenty of focus, Z-A will likely propel it from total obscurity to a fan favourite. In conclusion, Pokemon Legends Z-A is a grand adventure that once again proves that the Legends series is home to the most interesting ideas Game Freak has. It's a game that understands its audience and feels like a love letter to both the players who grew up with the series and those who have been here their whole time. In conclusion, Pokemon Legends Z-A is a grand adventure that once again proves that the Legends series is home to the most interesting ideas that Game Freak has. We dearly hope that the Pokemon Legends series is here to stay.